Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. I think this is the first time in two, maybe 3 weeks that I've been in my location at Portland. Last week I was in Austin, and I'm home. Feels good. So I've got an incredibly special guest, an extraordinary leader today. We've got Rene Rodriquez joining us. What's up, brother?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Good.
Fist bumps.
And I've got my co-host of both this event and the Modern Real Estate Summit, Todd Bookspan, to help lead the call and make it actionable. What's up, Todd?
Hey, not much. It's super exciting to be here. And, last time I saw Rene on video was when I did Amplify Virtual. And so now I'm ready to rock and roll and see what's going on in Rene's world.
Awesome. No, well, it is awesome. So I want to open the call and then I want to hand it off to the two of you to go back and forth on this opening. But I have been in 4 states over the past 7 days, and it is clear that America is opening up. It's also clear, because I'm on a lot of Zoom calls like this one, that everyone is suffering from Zoom overload. So, Rene, what are your thoughts? I know you wanted to bring leadership after how many different Zoom events have you done over the past 13 months? 300?
Over 320. Yeah.
Over 320. I don't even know how many I've done, but I know you beat me. But how do you want to frame today's conversation, Rene?
So when I say 320 events, I'm not talking about calls. I mean, I think some of us are in the thousands for calls and meetings and things. That when I talk about an event where I'm like this, I have to deliver value from me to an audience in some way, shape, or form. And I think that when you'd ask me, what I'd learned, like I'm going to sit and stop and really start thinking about what have we learned, like the things that have changed, what hasn't changed, what has, and sat and just really thought about, and I came up with 10 things that I sent you over this morning that really, really set the tone. But I want to give you the framework of where I'm thinking about. And this is something that I think is the overarching piece to this transition and the change that we've been through over the last 13 months. And so I want you to imagine that you're running a race, okay? And your competition's running this race, you're running this race, and you're giving it everything you got. You got some people that are faster than you. You feel like maybe you're keeping up. Maybe you feel like you're way behind. Wherever you feel like you're in this competitive race, I want you to imagine that you hear this boom and everyone stops running. For some reason, everyone stops running. People are looking around, they're starting to question what's going on, and they forgot about the race. Now imagine if you realized that the race was still on and everyone else was distracted, and you began to run, and you ran again, and you ran even faster. Imagine the advantage that you would have just over those that stopped running. And so that frame to me is really what happened when the pandemic hit, is people stopped running. They stopped the race. They looked around. Now, sometimes we have to stop and look around and take care of people. But then the reality is we still had to deliver value. We still had to connect with people. We still had to go out there and serve customers. We still had to do all sorts of things. But so many people stopped running. And so let me give you some examples of stopping the run. I wrote an article when it first happened, the 10 leadership brands that you don't want. And I got that by just watching Facebook and watching the leaders that we watch, the people that are the influencers, and what they decided to post. Because the reality is what we post on social media is the new media. A lot of us turn to social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, for what's happening in the world before we turn to a TV. A lot of us don't even trust TV anymore. The fake news, fake media, the left and the right, and the biases, because we know that it's not a public service organization. So we look to each other. And I was blown away by what leaders chose to post and talk about. The jokes, the complaining, the false information, the alarmist information. And so few decided to talk about hope, possibility, keep pushing forward, help people, and keep going. And so what I saw blew me away. But what I also saw now, especially 13 months later, that the few who decided to keep running the race are so far ahead of the pack, so far ahead. Those that were behind are now leading the way. We were going to do 100 events when the pandemic hit. It was going to be one of our best years. And in my world, I could list so many people that I am so far behind, whether it be speaker fee per hour, where mine might be here, theirs might be up here, or knowledge of what's happening and access and quantity of events, there's always room to grow. And I was so far behind some of the people that I looked up to. And when the pandemic hit, I watched all of those people stop, and they got scared and they got fearful. And I remember having these conversations. They were talking about how horrible things were and everything. And I remember literally saying to them, I said, well, let's take a look at what you've been talking about. And what we've all, as leaders, whether you're in a speaking world or whether you're leading an organization, a group of people, a management team, a family, whatever, what have you been talking about your whole career? What do you believe in? Do you believe in adversity, in that that's the time to build character? Or that's the time to show and reveal who you are? What do you believe about constraint and innovation and being creative and pushing through and perseverance? All that stuff, because it only matters right now. It's easy to talk about all those things when customers are buying, everything's good, but what are we doing right now? And that was a decision that we had to make. And so why we did 320 events is we wanted the reps. We wanted to understand what was going on. We wanted to be able to talk from a place of experience to say, okay, this is what we've learned. We also knew that the business depended on us keeping going. And at the end of the day, it's what we've talked about. Innovation breeds, constraint is what breeds innovation. So that's sort of the frame of these things. And I'll pass it back to you guys.
Not anything you want to say before I go? I got a few thoughts.
Well, that was just such a great frame. I mean, I love this idea of a race and that we all stop, right? I mean, what a great analogy to what we hit, with COVID. And so I'm just interested to see you unpack it, because I feel like most loan officers feel like they didn't stop, they kept running. But I think based on the frame that you gave, that they did stop, that they reacted, and they had this rain of loans that came down on them, but that wasn't what you're talking about. They weren't doing the things that you're talking about. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you're going to help everyone who's behind now in the race get started, who had the best year of their career, maybe the best year they'll ever have. However, I feel like they're probably still maybe just starting to walk again and need a little bit of urge from you and direction. I'm super excited about that.
For sure.
So I took a note. I loved this statement you said, social media equals the new news. And I'm definitely one of those folks where, regardless of partisan politics, there's people that I trust. I listened to Jocko Rogan more during this. I found people like Jocko Willink, people that I trust. And when they were getting interviewed on a podcast, that's where I'm getting my information. And then also I just research. If there's a topic I'm unsure of, I'll do some Google searches. I'll find people that I trust that, report facts over, exaggeration, and get my news. And so I think that's a really good point. And I do think there's been a lot of leaders. I mean, I upgraded my LinkedIn game and post thoughtful things on a daily basis on LinkedIn that I think are inspirational. Something else you said was that some people chose to complain, make jokes. And I do think humor is important, but I do think when you're a leader, it's about bringing the light. And I think as America is opening up right now, there's just a tremendous opportunity for mortgage coach leaders specifically, because you guys, you're advisors, you're leaders, or, you come to these calls, you listen to this content, whether you're watching it on LinkedIn, you're watching this to be better at what you do. And so I just think there's a massive opportunity as America opens up, that if you're using technology, and when I say technology, I'm talking Zoom. I have an iPhone, so, audio notes, video, you're using technology, but you're connecting in the real world. It is time to connect in the real world, get back into the habit of having coffee meetings, meal meetings. I do think there's going to be more events. And I know, Rene, you've got a super exciting announcement at some point in the call where there's a big in-person event that you're doing. And I know America is ready for this. So I just want people to make sure you took some notes on those two things. What's next, Rene?
Love that. Well, I think that what you said is right. This is a conversation yesterday. We're moving out of the virtual world into the hybrid world. We were in an in-person sort of live world, forced to go pure virtual. Now, to your point, I've been on the road last 2 months, almost 20 days each month, gone. I mean, I leave again tomorrow morning. I was back last night. I leave again tomorrow. I'm not home. And the airports are stacked. The airplanes are full. And America is moving. And yet we still have to be careful. We still have to use common sense, whatever it is, be respectful of people. But the race is on. and we still are moving. And so the first thing that I learned, and this was a hard one, because this is the one that I've battled with most with people, and quite frankly, the most frustrating one, because I've wanted to move past it for so long, is that technology is our oxygen in a hybrid world. In this virtual world, technology is oxygen. It means without it, you can't even breathe, you can't even get a message across. Something as simple as a microphone. If the microphone doesn't work, and you have this great, if the microphone doesn't work, it doesn't matter the message, right? Because in the world where we're in person, there is no technology between me and you. I can say things, you see lighting in real life, you can see my eyes, you can see all those things, but now I got to pass all this information through a camera, which is different than shooting video on an iPhone, because the iPhone, I shoot into a camera, but it goes onto a memory of some sort. And that memory then can be edited, broken down, lightened up, all these things up, and then reproduced and sent out through social media or whatever channel. But now I got to send it through a camera, which is tied to a computer, which then has to pass through the internet. And there's no editing involved. There's no color corrections. There's no audio corrections. If you're even off on sync, it's off. And so you got to have all of these elements in play just to be able to get this thought from me across to somebody over there. And so that technology, you need to embrace it. Now, I've also seen so many people just wait. They're trying to just waiting it out, right? They're twiddling their thumbs, hopefully looking at their thumbs. Maybe they're going to get over this virtual thing. The hybrid world is here. Virtual meetings aren't going away. Yes, we're going to have so many in-person meetings, lots of them, and I love them. Remember, we lost 100% of our events, and within the last 2 months, we've sold out all of 2021. I had to add 4 dates in that we squeezed. I had to move family time, move things, squeeze things around, use times that we're not even wanting, we planned that we weren't going to use, so we get more events. People are coming back. And so technology is the oxygen. It's number one. 2, that we learned. In virtual world, in this sort of virtual meeting, connection is possible. That was the big piece. We were thinking, can you actually connect? Can you relate? Can you build relationships? Can you build trust? Can you build culture? Can you hurt culture? The answer is a resounding yes, we can. But you have to do things differently. We have to understand the first thing is that with a technology conversation, in a virtual conversation, we have to be able to solve for disassociation. Disassociation happens when I can't see you and I can't hear you. All of those things trigger this thing called the McGurk effect. Now, if you don't know what the McGurk effect, Google it. MCGURK, McGurk. Maybe it's a CK in there. But the McGurk effect basically says, if you can't see my mouth move, now all of a sudden you realize how much of your visual cues, Dave, if you can see this, are critical in understanding what it is that I'm trying to say. Because your listening is not just auditory. You listen to what's going on, the shape of my mouth. It's difficult to understand when you can't see this. And so for those that are deaf, they have a hard time. They're relying on all these other things. And if you have poor lighting, you have poor cameras, or like I always put my sunglasses on. If you have, I can't even see your eyes, you'd never show up to a meeting like this, but sometimes we do that accidentally by having glasses, right? And you're not knowing the angles of those glasses. And so because if I don't know the angles, I'm accidentally sending these signals of hiding my eyes. And so just bringing the self-awareness to be able to connect is there. What inspired me to be able to do that is looking at pen pals and how people that have never seen each other or heard each other could fall in love writing love notes to each other overseas. You hear some of the most amazing stories from the greatest generation of people that wrote love letters to each other and they just connected. The importance of receiving a letter from somebody who was overseas at war, it meant everything. And so we can connect. And now we have more than just written word. We have the visual and the audio to go with it. But we can do it. We have to just do some things that are very different. And I'll stop there, Dave, if you want to say anything.
Well, I think you added another channel to what we have now in this new world that we live in. We've got in person, and we've always had in person, but the gift and the silver lining to COVID was we got good at digital connection. Some of us did. I upgraded again. I went to Amplify 3 times. I've done virtual Amplify, and I've upgraded my lighting, my mic. I even don't just take off glasses because maybe I like the way I look without glasses. Sometimes I'm taking off my glasses during a conversation because I know that I can connect better with someone. Dude, every time I'm with you, I learn a new word. I mean, the McGurk effect. I know there are some nerds on this call. They're just like, every time you like throw in a new thing. But it's so true. When you have a mask on, you can't connect with people the same. You can't see a smile, can't see a facial expression. So my message, and again, I know you got a lot more to share, but guys, it's time to double down. You want to have a competitive advantage? Get in person with people, use all the tools and skills that you learned, video, audio. And then you reminded us the power of a written word. Like you can fall in love with someone on their written word. You can begin to respect someone based off of their written word. So anyways, just more tools than ever to communicate and to create a competitive advantage if you want to play the game.
I love that. I'd say the number 4 thing that I learned is that leaders were revealed, and the fake leaders, the fair weather leaders were revealed, because you watch those that we were begging. I remember Steve Harney and I literally got closer than ever during the pandemic, because you watched, he came out almost of retirement during the pandemic to post every single day what was going on, what he saw. People are going to be begging to get back into movie theaters. They're going to be paying extra tips because they're going to see how, and they're going to be glad to stand in an hour line just to be back in person again. Let's not lose sight of what's going on. And he was so spot on. And every day he was my lighthouse. I'm saying, okay, we got to put the Lighthouse series out. We got to keep constantly talking about this. And I remember being so frustrated about the people that I wanted to hear from just post a meme about what was going on that only perpetuated the alarmist thinking and did nothing to move us forward. Now, I am, if you know me, I am the biggest jokester there is. Not the biggest jokester there is. I hate people say stuff like that. I love pranks. I love jokes. I love good conversations. But in the leadership context, we have to understand and recognize the impact and the influence that we have. And we have to understand the power of our voice and our message in a time like this. People are searching for that. That's why we gravitated towards that lighthouse message. Who's shining their light during the storm? Who's guiding the way? That's why we don't have many lighthouses. And more importantly, we have very few lighthouse keepers, those ones that go to work in the storm when everyone seeks shelter. And the ones when it's bright outside, they're resting because they've been working so hard, and they don't need the thank you. They do it because that's who they are. And so the lighthouse keepers, the leaders, the lighthouse leaders that we've been looking for revealed themselves. And I came to find out there weren't that many, and it made me sad. It made me sad. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. I can keep going if you want.
Well, just be the lighthouse. Everyone who has been to an Amplify event, that word lighthouse has a whole new meaning to what it means. But I think it's pretty obvious, guys. It's the person that inspires others. The big thing I learned going to multiple Amplify events is that the lighthouse is the person who's most vulnerable. And that was a big takeaway, just the power of vulnerability. But every time I went to an Amplify event, the person that was the most vulnerable is the person that inspired people the most. Todd, I don't know if you're going to be able to be on the whole call, but I want to give you a chance to interject anything, and also let us know if you're going to be here the whole time or not.
I will be here the whole time. And, I just continue. I mean, every point that you're making is spot on. And it's just making me reframe the past 12 months, right? What was my experience? And I'm just making notes here of how I want to show up, right? We talked about tech, and, Dave, obviously you upgraded your game, but I feel like so many people in our community who have been influenced by Rene, reached out to Ryan Grams and had him help them upgrade just like you did. And then the whole idea, Rene, of what you just said at the end there with Steve Harney being your lighthouse just makes me think, who are the people who are my lighthouse? And really making sure that I reach out and express my gratitude. Because obviously what you just said about Steve, I want to make sure that the people who were my lighthouse through that time, that I reach out to them after this.
I love
that just brought up two things. So one, I want to remind you guys, this is mastermind style. We've got a big audience in our Facebook group. We've got a great audience here in Zoom, and we're going to have a recorded audience in our YouTube channel. If you have a question for Rene, put it in comments. And even if you're doing the recording, Rene and I are going to be doing a lot of content together over the next few months. So let us know what you want us to cover. But that also just reminds me, and one thing I'm going to do after this is I'm going to think about who was my lighthouse. You mentioned how kind of, well, you know what? I know who it was. It was you. There is no, one of the reasons, guys, when I promoted this, I picked a photo of, instead of doing like the Rene's awesome speaker photo or one of the many photos I have of Rene, him and I doing fist bumps while we're on the road. I picked a photo where you can tell I'm kind of like talking and he's standing behind me, just listening and coaching and mentoring. So bro, you were my lighthouse through the 2020. And I know I have come out of this a better listener. I've come out of this a better presenter. I have not completely, still do some wasted words. I think I just said, but so I'm not perfect, but I learned a lot of ways to be a better leader, a better husband, a better father because of you. So thank you, brother. You are the leader of leaders.
I'm learning to say thank you when I feel that way. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Dave, you know what you've done for my career, my just the push that you've given me for the last 4 years. You were the one that said, when I said to you, dude, I suck at marketing and it's okay. And you just got pissed off and you said, don't ever say that again and become good at it. And I still have that text you gave me because it was that day that I realized maybe I need to figure this whole thing out. And I still have a lot to go, but like you've never allowed me to doubt. You've never allowed me to even step softly. You've always kicked me in the ass and say, step bigger. And I'll love you forever for that. And I appreciate that, dude. So
love you, brother. Back at you, man.
So I think the fourth one comes around innovation. And I think that we talk about innovation so often. And the biggest mistake I see that we make is that we think innovation comes from this abundance, right? And when we have all these choices, you've been to 31 flavors, you've been to the airport and you see which car rental place am I going to go to? You get so many to choose from. But true abundance and too many choices breeds overanalysis and paralysis. And we don't get creative when we have everything. And what ends up happening, and I think they call this the Parkinson's effect. Honestly, it's where we don't maximize the use of something. And if we think about when we get creative, we've got the toothpaste and we've got a full bottle, we just glob it all on. But when we're getting to the end, we start getting real creative on how we're going to just we can only use a little bit right here. Look at, if we just use a little dab of this stuff, we can spread it out. But true innovation comes from constraint. The best story I ever had for that was my mother when I was a kid. And she told me, because I made the mistake of saying that I was bored. And she said, oh, you're bored. I said, okay, well, let me finish what I'm doing here. You go and be creative for 10 minutes and then we'll talk about it. And I said, all right, fine. And I went out and grabbed my 64 pack of Crayola crayons. You remember that one where you open it up and the angels start singing because there's so many colors and it has the sharpener in the back, which is like, talk about a cool thing. You could sharpen right there in the cool. And I remember she said, but you can't use the whole box of crayons. You can only use 2. I'm like, what? You said to be creative. She goes, yeah, be creative. And Rene, understand this, creativity doesn't come from using every color in the spectrum. Creativity comes from having only 2 colors and working wonders with those. So let's see what you got. And you go back in history and Cuba, no trade from anywhere outside of them. They have cars that still function from the 50s because they had to get creative and innovative on how things function. All of those things come from that perspective. And so now the pandemic hit, the first thought I go, okay, constraint. That to me, my belief system equals innovation. Look at how many mortgage companies are doing digitally what they said, no, we could never do that. And all of a sudden, the processes are starting to improve because they were forced to. And so a lot of these times, the constraint is what leads to these new innovations. And you both know a lot more of the technical innovations that are happening in the mortgage space than I do. But I've heard you talk about them. And the speed in which they're doing things. And now because we were forced to, because we had an abundance of money, we had an abundance of time to get things done, and we could just take our time. No different than the car industry before Toyota got in the game and after World War II. The United States, yeah, we could build cars however we want them. And then Toyota said, well, you just bombed us and we got nothing. Or Japan said, we got nothing, we got no natural resources, so we better be better at this. And they came in and destroyed us in manufacturing in the 90s, in the 80s. Destroyed us. I'm talking about completely obliterated us through the Toyota manufacturing system and Lean and Six Sigma. Here's what I'm thinking, and what I know, and I've been saying this since 2007. Those practices are coming strong for the mortgage industry. They're coming hard. FinTech sees 2 things. Investment bankers see 2 things. High margin, horrible efficiencies. When they see that, they go, opportunity. Where is the biggest cost? You do the math. But we better get innovative fast, and we better continue to innovate the process, and we better continue to learn how to add irreplaceable value. I'm going to give you 3 words actually, that drive me in this. Indispensable growth partner. How can you be an indispensable growth partner where you can't be replaced? You're indispensable in my growth, and you're my partner. And again, I guarantee you this, it's not through your rate. It's not through some cool follow-up system. You have to think differently. And if what you're saying out loud is what everyone else is saying out loud, you're not indispensable, you're replaceable. It all depends on who gets to that person first and says it in a better way. So you need to start thinking innovatively, creatively, so that you can stand out as an indispensable growth partner. And I'll tell you, Dave, one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Mortgage Coach, it's an indispensable tool for people that use it. You take away Mortgage Coach, you've taken away their business and how they compete and how they communicate. So being good at utilizing these tools is one way to execute that.
So a word I wrote down, you didn't say it, but when you said be indispensable, I wrote down be the obvious choice. And I think, most folks on this call, you're local, you're referral based, you need to be the obvious choice. And technology has not slowed down the innovation through this COVID. I mean, it's been an accelerator. So everything that can be automated, I've always said will be automated. No, is being automated. And so I think as a mortgage professional, innovation is about, for the most part, learning new habits and skills. You need to innovate by just learning to do the things you need to do better. But guys, America's opening up. Big opportunity to take everything that you learned with technology. Hopefully you're also upgrading your personal skills, your leading skills. If you have not been to an Amplify in person or an Amplify live event, it's more important than ever, and it's going to be easier than ever. I know Rene is going to be sharing a big event. As far as I'm concerned, it's industry news, what he's going to share at some point in this call. But it's important that you guys be the obvious choice. So one thing I would throw an action item for everyone listening to this call is, what are your gaps? Like, where are you the obvious choice? I know if you're a broker out there, you're like, hey, we got the best rates. Not everybody, when it comes to rates and fees, is the obvious choice. So if rates aren't it, what are you doing from a service standpoint so that when you meet with a family, you're the obvious choice? When it comes to realtors, what are you doing so that you're the obvious choice? Todd, anything you want to insert or ask at this point? We got about 30 minutes left, so we're at the halfway point.
Well, I love that indispensable growth partner. And so you just nailed it, right? If you're going to, that, to me, it's 2 things. It's your clients and it's your realtor partners or financial advisors, attorneys, et cetera. And I think you nailed it, right? If you're not using TCA to help the family understand how to get the best financing and doing annual mortgage reviews, then you're not a growth partner. And I also feel the interviews that we've done over the last few Fridays, Dave, where we're talking to people who use the Modern Real Estate Summit as a tool to help their real estate agents grow in 2021. Guess what? They are growth partners. And so I think that's such a great phrase you picked, Rene. And, certainly know you're going to continue to unpack points, but I think, anything else that you can do to help encourage people understand what that means and how to define it themselves, maybe by what you just said, Dave, what are your gaps to get there?
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned the Modern Real Estate Summit. I wanted to pull this up, remind folks, those of you that did sign up for this event, you have it through the end of the month. I do also, I don't think we've announced this on stage, but the highest rated speaker was Ryan Serhant. And as you guys can see, there were a lot of incredible real estate speakers, a lot of incredible mortgage speakers. And the number 2 highest rated speaker, when I last looked at the results, was none other than Mr. Rene Rodriquez. So I want to, thank you for that. I also want to remind folks, you've got a 20-minute interview from Rene right here. Not an interview, a keynote presentation. And part of killing it in the real world is you can use that content at an in-person meeting where you could do a realtor lunch and learn and you could play this. And you could also do a Zoom event where you you leverage this and you can play this. And you could do an event.
Consequence if you fail.
You play a little bit of this.
Yeah, now you have to do.
It'd be like having Rene
And we
Rodriquez
check our email
at a realtor
30 times an
with
hour.
you, where Rene talks for 3 to 5 minutes. Let's put Rene on pause, and now you bring leadership. So guys, you can use that tool right now in an in-person meeting or on a Zoom meeting. Again, a great use of virtual and in-person to deliver value. So Rene, first of all, I think that's pretty amazing that you were one of the top speakers, given the competition you had on that stage.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, wouldn't have the platform without you guys, so I really appreciate it. You guys also failed to mention the pressure you put on for me. You called me 5 times and said, "You better give it everything you got, man."
Well, I mean, you are the master of virtual presentations, and you were one of the few leaders we had on that stage that wasn't just a baller real estate agent. So it's like, I needed you to be the man, and you were the man, guys. If you have not watched that 20-minute presentation, check it out. We are going to start selling the 1-year pass to this event June 1st. So guys, this is the gift that keeps on giving. You can have it right now, and you can have it all year long. So thank you for that, dude. It was a huge gift to real estate agents and mortgage professionals that want to elevate.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So number 5, something as simple as change is good, because the next best thing is probably sitting right in front of you. And I go back to spending 20 years to develop a full calendar, and live events go away, in-person gatherings go away, which means Rene goes away. And looking at that and saying, okay, what does that mean? I go back, I mean, I could show you, Dave, have I shown you my first attempt at innovation during this pandemic? And I have literally the video of me standing in my office trying to innovate using an iPad and an iPad mouse and my first ring light. I don't know if you can see that, but this is me less than a year ago.
You've come a long way.
And thinking that a whiteboard, and also it's about 40 pounds heavier too. I forget about how bad that was.
Congratulations.
No travel was good for the gym, that's for sure. But I look at that and I had this remote. I thought I could turn my iPad on and off with this thing. And a ring light, what does that look like? What does the audio sound like? And yet I had no idea what was possible in the fact that we were going to do this, but it was the change in the constraint that caused all of this for me to do the things that I never thought were going to be possible, right? To really get clear on the things that made us different and how do you stand out, and the things that created, that all bleed over into person presentation. Here's the other thing that I've learned, and it's not even on this list. Video is the new PowerPoint. I want you to think about that for a minute. Video is the new PowerPoint. Our ability to start and stop video is the new PowerPoint slide. Because I was talking to a really good friend of mine, big industry speaker, somebody that I helped get started 14 years ago. Now he's speaking $30,000 a gig, 80 of those a year, one of the top 5 along with Mel Robbins. And he called me and goes, I got a big virtual presentation. We spent an hour and a half going through this stuff. He's upgraded his studio with Call Upgrade, and he looks great on camera. And he's like, how do I use this little Stream Deck box, right? How do I use this thing to be able to start? And I said, I want you to think about it as PowerPoint, right? Instead of going to the next slide, you're going to the next video and say, so for example, when you start me up and say, they tee up Rene Rodriquez, and the first thing that comes up. You're going to hear me talk about this word influence a lot, because at the end of the day, if I present or if I speak and nobody does anything as a result of it, what have I done? So there's a sizzle reel, and I come back. Welcome, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us here today, and I do a little bit more tee up, and I do the live version of this, and then I can move into, so our next part is we're going to get into learning about systems 1 and 2 in the brain. Be back in 2. If you're a leader, here's what Harvard tells you. And then that video plays, and I come back and I give the leadership, and I give the tie downs and the quotes and everything that I'm doing, and then we're going to talk about this part of the. So when you begin studying the brain, the first thing you learn is the brain has an initial job to do, and that's to keep us alive. And that always fascinated me. And so now I'm literally like on TV, going and throwing it to different videos like I would a different PowerPoint slide. But the video is a heck of a lot more engaging. It creates novelty in this hybrid world, and it allows me to go back and forth with something. And so now I have all this access to be able to play that stuff. And if you, and he was like, well, I don't have video. I said, well, do you have your your keynotes? He goes, I got tons of them. I said, well, grab your favorite keynote segment where you talk about this point where you say it perfectly, grab that, snip that up as a little module, and then put it there ready, available, the same way you would a little perfect PowerPoint slide would have the perfect visuals. We have the ability to do that with video now, and it becomes so much more powerful way to communicate something.
So Rene, I love that you said that quote, and I put it in comments down below. And one of the things that we've done at Mortgage Coach, and then that has been super powerful, is we'll take, I do a lot of long form 1 hour interviews like this one, but then I'll take a piece of that, call it micro content, that's less than 3 minutes. And not only can we use that to share it on social media, but we can insert that into meetings. Like if I want Jeremy Forcier on a meeting with me, it's like, get that perfect little 1 to 3 minute segment, talk, frame it. Let's hear what Jeremy has to say. So I love what you said. So guys, every loan officer, what videos do you need to have ready to share so that if you're doing something digitally, you can insert that great client testimonial, that agent that said something amazing for you. And then remember, guys, it could be in the real world. Hey, you just had this great meeting with them, and you have them in your little photo tray of your mobile phone. And you could just, hey, it was so great meeting with them. You could put a little 15-second thank you video, and then you could forward, hey, I know I told you could check out all my, online reviews, but here's something that a client said that I'm just really proud of. Check it out. And you can give them a 30-second video. So what does that do? It makes you more memorable. It makes you, what's the 3 words I said? The obvious choice. So I love that, Rene.
Awesome. So the next one is a pretty obvious one, is that hybrid's here to stay. We've talked about that. It's not going away. The question is, will you adapt or not? And so it's no different than the whole technology adoption life cycle. Are you going to be the one that's still trying to find out where VHS players are and you have to buy a CD because you can't get tapes anymore? We're adopting technology, and you got to ask yourself, where on the curve are you? Are you an innovator, somebody that adopts right away? Are you an early adopter that has the vision to see where this is going? Or are you an early majority that is waiting for others to sort of build the proof case to say, okay, I can see where that is. That's okay. Or are you a late majority that's going, all right, I guess we got to do this. But by that time, everybody is moving so fast, and you're just asking now, where do I get a ring light? If you don't have a ring light, and even ring lights are almost outdated, right? Because the yellow color, we're putting yellow lights on it when it should be a white light. Like, we got to know this stuff. Right? If you don't understand that lighting is more important than your camera, and then the audio is critical, you're behind. And so we've got to be able to embrace this world and to be able to do both. Hybrid and person, it's becoming that kind of world. And even right now, the keynotes we're getting are hey, we got this keynote coming up, and we're not sure if it's going to be in person or virtual, or we might have you do both, right? And it's like, you got to be ready for both. Now, you may not be a keynote speaker, but you're still trying to work with clients. You don't know if the client wants to meet with you in person or they just want to stay with Zoom. You got to be able to nail it both ways. So hybrid is not going anywhere. The next part, I think, goes back to the initial frame that I sent up around, everyone's running a race and everybody stopped running, is that this is what I learned, is that during down times, that is the opportunity to gobble up market share. That is such a critical phrase that has become cliche, but I know that the speakers that right now, my proof point of that is in the last 2 months, we literally are sold out for the entire year for Amplify, and we had to find 4 more dates. And I'm looking at the best speakers that I've ever seen saying, well, I got one event coming up where, we're hitting the phones hard, and we're trying to get this next one. We think we can get a couple more events in the next couple months. And I'm going, I had 5 this week, and I've got another 3 next week. And then I had to turn down 2 just to be able to take these, and watching the fees go up. And now with this other one's happening here where they got rid of this person that wasn't happening before. Yes, I was speaking and everything, but it wasn't to this magnitude. And it's because we kept running, we kept adding value, we kept making video, we kept adapting to what's going on. And then we could become saying, hey, well, Even my competitors are saying, well, let me play this little clip of Rene of how they're doing the studio. Then you start being referenced by those because we ran out ahead. And there's no difference right now. The realtor, we were saying this, Dave, you and Todd, you guys were saying this, real estate agents were left alone during the refi boom because no one was talking to them. But the ones that are killing it now are the ones, as interest rates go up, that kept talking to them. They kept running the race. They kept making the meetings, adding value to the real estate agents, so that when those of you coming out of the real estate or the refi boom and the refis, I better start talking to realtors. The realtors are like, no. You went away during that time. We know who you are. We got our partners. And they were here the entire time. And they were adding value. They helped me grow my business. They helped me think of technology in a different way. They got me marketing in ways I never thought. They are now indispensable as part of our growth plan. So they don't even hear you or don't even give you an opportunity to play out the game. And so, if you missed the ball before, guess what? This world is cyclical. It is constantly new opportunities, constantly new things. There's always going to be somebody that is behind, which means there's always an opportunity to get ahead. So, you got to start running. This is the time that you start gobbling up market share. And when everyone's doom and gloom about the inventory shortage, who's getting creative in the process? That's the thing that I love about what you guys are doing here, because you're constantly pushing that envelope and challenging us to get creative. So,
it's interesting, Rene, because
please.
there are so many loan officers right now who still haven't jumped in and reached out to their referral partners. And I think a lot of people are thinking I missed the boat, but I still feel like you're just at the tip of it right now. Now is the perfect time to pick up the phone today and schedule some meetings with real estate agents. And you just said it, you have to be ready to be hybrid, because you might talk to realtors as, I'm not meeting with people yet out in public. And you may find someone else who's like, all right, let's go for lunch.
Well, guys, I've had enough interviews with enough big producers to know that now is the best time to recruit agents. You want new agents? There's never going to be a better time. You know, they are dealing with more problems than ever, with inventory shortage, with bidding wars. So they have lots of problems where lenders, it's like we don't have silver bullets, but we do have ways, like the best loan officers, the way they prep, the way they leverage video, the way they use technology, the way they give advice, the way they show up and listen, have an advantage. There's never been a better time to get out there and get after it with agents. Like the work you do this year will define the next 3 years of your career. Actually, it will define the next decade of your career. I do believe that the loan officers that are doing all the right things, this decade will be better than last decade. And the loan officers that aren't, I can assure you this decade will not be better than the last one. So love all the points you're making, Rene.
So the last three, they kind of go hand in hand. The eighth one here is that listening needs to be a superpower right now. If you're not good at it, you got to get good at it. If you haven't been doing it, you got to figure it out. Because if you listen now, people are telling you what they need. They are telling you what they need. And it goes into 9, which right now people, and our voices matter. Your people's voices matter. We have the ability to be able to voice and to set the direction, set the tone for what's going on. And as somebody once asked me, well, how do you set the tone for the room? Like, you want to get in the room, influence, set the tone for the room. And the answer is, you got to first, if you want to set the tone for the room, you got to set the tone internally for yourself first. Where's your tone at? Are you stressed? Are you in touch with what's going on? You set the tone internally so that you can set the tone for the room, which means your voice actually is making an impact. But what you say should be dependent on your ability to listen to the marketplace, listen to your people, listen to your loan officers, listen to your real estate partners, listen to your customer, listen to your families, listen to your kids. We have to listen, because there's a lot going on. There was a lot of stress out there, and all of it needs to be discussed, which leads me to the last one, is that leaders are lonely. I can't tell you how many times in our Amplify course we have this conversation where people will just come to talk because they can't do it with their families, because there's so much chaos at home, there's so much fear in the marketplace, they still got to lead their people, and they got no one to talk to. They can't. Some of the best leaders are also scared. They're questioning themselves. They're starting to doubt, man, is this the right thing to do? But they put on that face and they push forward anyways. It's that courage that is so inspiring to me, but they also need a place to talk. So if you're a leader watching this, find a group. Find other leaders. Find mastermind groups where you can get together and you can talk about, holy shit, that was scary. Like, I don't know, am I doing the right thing? And they go, no, you're doing the right thing. I was scared too, but this is what we did. And they go, but I'm scared about this. I said, well, I did this. And you have that conversation, the camaraderie, and that feeding off of each other so you can keep going. And leadership does not mean that you're the top of the organization. Sometimes you're the leader of a group emotionally. Sometimes you're the leader of the company culturally because people listen to you. You may not have the positional authority, but people listen to you. They come to you. They're always seeking your advice. Leaders can be lonely, so leaders, you got to be proactive in finding your circles to be able to talk.
So Rene, this has been an awesome briefing. All 10 of your topics were super on point. We've still got another 15 minutes, guys. So if you have questions for Rene, let us know what they are. But here's one thing I do know. As leaders, we don't need to be lonely. At Mortgage Coach, that's why I do leadership calls like this virtually all the time. That's why we did the modern real estate and the modern mortgage events, to connect and deliver value virtual. But guys, the real world is opening. America is opening. And Rene Rodriquez is launching, at least from what I know, the first in-person live event. Usually to get trained by Rene Rodriquez, you need to be lucky enough to work for a company where they have spent tens of thousands of dollars to bring him in as a speaker. Or you need to have invested $5,000 to go to the Amplify Live event, which, by the way, I recommend that you do. It's the best personal development thing I've ever done. And what he's going to share in a minute is not a substitute to that. Like, there's no substitute to being in a room of 10 leaders that have invested in themselves to be better leaders, and to spend multiple days where you're standing on stage and you're presenting and you're being critiqued by not only Rene Rodriquez, but other people. So there's no substitute to an Amplify in person, or you doing that virtually. But Rene is doing a live event, and I do believe it's going to be capped out at 500 folks. So there will be no more than 500 people in this room. All of COVID safe precautions are going to be taken, but it's going to be one day of not only Rene, but he has tapped people that have been through multiple of events that he thinks are some of the best moderators and leaders. I'm fortunate to be asked to join that. So I will be at this event. Rene, I want to, before we run out of time, I want to make sure we don't give it a shout out. We don't give it a plug. I want you to describe your vision for this event. Tell folks how they can sign up for this event, and tell us what we got coming, brother. I can't wait to connect live with everybody.
Yeah, me too. Well, it's somewhat emotional for me because for the last 15 plus years, I've always dreamed of having an event. You know how many times I've sat in the waiting. Am I going to be allowed to speak at this event? Making the phone calls. All right, well, we'll sneak you in as a breakout session. We'll get you in. I remember speaking during Tony Robbins because nobody wanted that talk. He's going to be speaking here, but we got this like closet upstairs that you can take 80 people up there. And I've always said, I want to have my own event, and this is one of those things that this is what you pushed me towards. Like you literally have pushed me for the last year and a half. Rene, you got to do this. You got to do this. And quite frankly, it's scary. It's scary. And we finally pulled the trigger where we're going to have our first in-person conference in Las Vegas on August 19th at Planet Hollywood. And the cool part is that it's in conjunction, or at least that's where the Vince from Originator Connect, where I'm also keynoting there, which is on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd in there. He said, Rene, we love what you're doing, and we're going to give you the ballroom. What would you do for us? And so that was a huge sign of people really wanting to see this happen, and we had to take it. We had to run with it. And so on August 19th, we're going to be hosting the first. Can you guys still hear me if I'm talking this way?
Yeah, your voice has gone down a little
now?
bit.
Is that better?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So on August 19th, we're going to host the first in-person Amplify event, and it's a one-day event, and it's not going to be, like you said, a replacement to what we were doing before. It is something that it's going to be a group experience where we're going to have some other people that I'm going to bring on stage. We're going to interview and see some things, the behind the scenes look at influence from some of the people that I think we all look up to, some surprise guests, and some outside people too. Some people that have been my influences, and the people that are the ones that really push me. And so we're going to create, it's a group experience as well. So we're going to have breakout sessions in the audience, and we're going to have some of the industry's best leaders like Dave. I know I talked to Jeremy Forcier, he's trying to be there, Josh Metal, to Dan Keller and Kelly Zitlow. And I've talked to Megan Anderson and just a lot of some of the people that have been through, and Phil Treadwell, that have been through 3 and 4 and 5, 6 times to Amplify, to be in the audience as the leaders in the audience. And so we wanted to make it, sort of a no-brain affordability at $495 for the entire day. That does include free access to the Originator Connect conference, where you're going to see, Rob Krisman and David Luna and Austin, what's his name from? I don't have it in front of me. From some other just some really good speakers there that are coming. And so it is $495. And what we are willing to do, if you go to amplifylive.com, amplify with 2 I's.com, and then hit the register, you can register for it. But also we're giving a discount code of MC100 for Mortgage Coach 100 if you want to get $100 off. So it'll be $395. So kind of a no-brain deal. We have to cap it at 500 people, and we've already got a lot of, this is actually even just friends and people that know that are already signing up, but this is the first official announcement of that. And so we are as excited as could be.
Dude, I'm shocked. I'm super excited. Actually, I'm going to buy a ticket today, but I'm shocked that you're giving $100 off at $495. I'm thinking this is super bargain. So all of you who are even hesitant, jump in now, $395 to spend the day with Rene and all those other leaders. I'm in.
And you're welcome to not use the code too.
What's the code again, Rene?
MC for Mortgage Coach, MC100.
All right. So if you can stop sharing the screen, because I just want to talk to you, bro. So I am just pumped. I know this is going to be one of the best all-time live big group sessions I've ever attended. Guys, if you're part of the Mortgage Coach community and you've gotten value from this community, or you've gotten value from Rene Rodriquez, sign up. Like, this is a no-brainer. Even if you've been to Amplify Live, this is going to be a great chance. He mentioned leaders are lonely. We don't need to be lonely. We just need to show up. This is going to be a place where the best leaders, the best influencers in the mortgage space come and network. I know I'm going to fly in at least a day early and put some type of a small group setting together for mortgage coaches that are elevating their leadership at the highest level. So I know there's going to be things that happen before this event. Rene mentioned that this is also something the day before Originator Connect, which is a big event. Very well known, great place to be. So guys, if you are a mortgage leader, you want to elevate your listening skills, your presenting skills, your influence skills, how you show up in this new world, this is a must attend event. Also, don't wait, get signed up. This is Rene's first event, and I know what that's like. So guys, let's get 100 people signed up for this event today. I know over 100 people are going to watch it. So sign up. Let's get after it. I personally would use the Mortgage Coach code. Sorry, Rene. But get signed up, everybody. Rene, anything else you want to share? We got about 7 minutes left. I do have some questions. I just saw a boom. So exciting. This is gonna be great. Anything you want to share that might be takeaways for someone where, and I'd love to have you answer this two ways. One, what do you think the takeaways will be for people that have, because hundreds of people have been through your in-person and your virtual, what will they get? And for someone that hasn't been to that event, didn't see the sequel, they're coming to the part 2, what are they going to get?
Great question. So the first thing, one of the biggest benefits that people always talk about with Amplify is the network of who they're in the room with. And you walk out of that room with family, people that are very close because of what you share and what you learn. They're top producers. They're people that have answers and solutions and innovations and ideas and creative ways of approaching the marketplace, scripts, and you're in with them. That is the most powerful thing you can do, is surround yourself with good people. And then when you surround yourself with good people and you go through an experience that you learn, and if you know my style, it's not me keynoting and talking the entire time. It's me putting up a concept, what I call lecturette, and then coming as, as a group to learn a process, stumble and fail, and then you're going to have those facilitators that are the leaders there next to you in the audience, spread around, so you're going to have access. You can reach out and touch them, and they can talk to you. You can ask questions, and then we come back to learn the next phase and the next phase and the next phase, and to really create actionable insights for people to go, okay, even though it's not the full amplify, my goal is that you walk out of there a very different leader, communicator, and influencer based on what you learned. And obviously, we'd love for you to join the full course, but yes, that is for sure going to happen.
Yeah. So lecturette, I need to know how to spell that word, but that is what made the 2-day workshop so amazing, is that you would talk and you would share a lecturette, and then we would exercise and practice. So I'm excited to see how you're going to do that with a big group of 500 folks. Any idea how small you'll do the breakout groups? Like any idea on how small the exercises will be after
my goals are right around 10.
Around 10.
My goals right around 10.
Try to get this.
Yeah, there might be some that you do one-on-one, like you find a partner to do this. We did this. I've done this with groups of 3,000, and it is so powerful when you get the group and everybody sharing ideas and learning, because to me, knowledge is one thing, but applied knowledge is where it's at. And so I like to give a concept, apply it, concept, apply, concept, apply, and you take 3 applications to get together into a full tool to be able to then communicate a message. And so it is very, very thoughtful and very strategic on how we deliver these pieces. And, so it's going to be very, very, very engaging with the goal of people networking together, building community, and Amplify carries a set of values to it. It's just amplifying the people that have gone through, the hundreds of people that have gone through, especially in the mortgage community, coach community, just have a very different conversation. That what people are they talk about family, they talk about their values, they talk about leadership, they talk about excellence, they talk about growth and their learning. And so the values that are there are very, very specific to create a very, very unique environment.
So guys, when I got behind, I made the decision in 2019 that I was going to personally attend an Amplify in-person event. And we did the first one at the end of January. The sizzle reel from that and the feedback. I mean, every person in that room were some of the most successful loan officers in America. They were all red belts at Mortgage Coach. So they were some of the best advisors in America. And they said, this was the most impactful, best personal development experience of my life. My goal was to get 100 people from the Mortgage Coach community through those programs, because I want to change how people get into debt in America. That means I need to help loan officers be advisors so they can help families make better decisions. And then I need to help those advisors be the lighthouse for the mortgage industry. Create, and what did he say? Social media is the new news. So the Mortgage Coach community needs to be great at giving advice, and they need to be great at creating a whole new framework on social media around what a mortgage professional is. So, dude, I want to thank you, because this is a big gift to the Mortgage Coach community. Now we can get hundreds of mortgage coaches. I would love this if you're a mortgage coach. I would love if we sell out this 500 just within our elite community, advisors doing mortgages, that it's amplifying, it's Mortgage Coach all in one. Of course, Win by Noon, Todd, we need to make sure you get a chance to promote this to the Win by Noon crew. Will you give Todd a little head start before you start going to other influencers, so we can get as many Win by Noon and mortgage coaches at this event?
Love that. Absolutely, would love that. Absolutely. The question says, can it be taken virtually from Israel? We're working on that right now. We've got somebody, Ryan Graham's actually, he wants to take on that project, and so he's looking at doing something. And if you know Ryan, how he's innovated all of the things that I'm doing here, he's looking at creating a virtual experience that could be pretty cool. We're not there yet. We'd love to have you in person, but we will definitely let you guys know when that is. The code is, somebody asked, MC for Mortgage Coach 100, capital MC, and 100. And then looks like, yeah, Harrison, we're looking forward to doing your virtual thing with Team Crosley. You guys are awesome. Adam's amazing.
Todd, take us home, brother. Wrap it up.
Well, I'm excited and I'm inspired. Anytime I get to spend an hour here with you, Rene, and of course with you, Dave, as always, I leave motivated to be better, right? We talked about how we've been in this race that we were off and running, just over a year ago. And then we heard that boom and we all just stood around in granted, in this industry, we were blessed when other people stood around for a long time and were off the rails. We were running really fast and had a successful year. I look forward to events like this. This could be kind of that growth rocket fuel that you need in order to get to the next step. I can't wait to see you guys all there. And I think that's the only action plan I have for today, right? Re-listen to this call, figure out how you can be that partner that we talked about, how you can be, as Dave put it, the obvious choice. And, as always, from the bottom of my heart, thank you both for pouring into me and inspiring me to be better.
Love it. So guys, if you've ever gotten value from this Mortgage Coach stage, please, this will be available on our YouTube channel. Please forward today's interview to your mortgage friends, anyone that you would love to be at this event, forward it to them. Let folks know. I mean, I'm serious about it. I want this to be as many mortgage coaches in a room, amplifying, elevating their skills of influence as possible. So I do believe this event will sell out. So get signed up, share it with as many mortgage coaches as you can. And I know for sure this discount code MC100 is going away. So that is just a temporary code that will not be available up until showtime. I don't think Rene has announced when that goes away, but it is going to go away. And Rene, you the man, bro. Appreciate you.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thanks for those that just signed up. We got a few that came through. That means the world to me. Thank you so much. My heart and soul is going to go into this event, like it does all of them, but this one is especially special. So thank you both for getting the opportunity to share it and launch it live here today.
All right. Take care, everyone. Have an awesome week. We'll see you this Friday.
Thanks, guys.
Guys.
And gals.